Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. In this video I will show you the newest build for the Scourge in World vs World. This is a power build for the Scourge and its main focus is to corrupt and also do some damage. Not the best damage, but still it will be decent and trying to be the top corrupts of the squad. The corruption was nerfed with the latest patch, but in addition we have some alacrity on ourselves from the newest trait. So this is the trait lines. Basically the Scourge got some change. This right here, feed from corruption, was a grandmaster trait and was moved here and changed. So whenever we corrupt a boon from an enemy or remove a boon, we gain barrier, and whenever we give barrier to an ally, that ally will get alacrity. So this also count for ourselves. So basically with our internal cooldown of 1 second, each time we remove a boon from an enemy or corrupt a boon from an enemy, we get barrier, and with this barrier we get also 1 second of alacrity, meaning that like we cast a boil of corruption on our enemy, it's 5 pulses. It means every pulse is 5 boons removed, but we have a 1 second internal cooldown right here, so we will get total 5 seconds of alacrity. The same goes for Ghastly Breach and for every other corrupt boon. So this is the trait lines. This trait right here, it was once we got it removed the boons from enemies and corrupted them into conditions. Now it was nerfed and it only removes the boons. It doesn't convert them into conditions. Also right here we had another nice trait before the patch, which was Sadistic Searing, which we used to take to remove cooldown, to reduce the cooldown from Trail of Anguish, from Sand Flare and from Ghastly Breach. But these 3 skills I just said were lowered in cooldown, so we don't need Sadistic Searing anymore. We just run this. So let's have a look at the patch notes to see what interests us or not. So Unholy Fist is the skill tree from the axe. This skill will now remove boons instead of converting them into conditions, and it also got some damage buff. Unholy Burst is the secondary explosion from the skill tree of the axe, of course. It's the mini explosions. It was nerfed a bit on the damage. Then Spiteful Spirit is the trait I just said, right here. It doesn't corrupt the boons, it just removes them. Then right here we have Devouring Darkness. This was one of the biggest nerfs for the Scourge. Increased cooldown from 10 seconds to 18 seconds in World vs World only. It's this skill right here, it's the Scepter 3, the famous Scepter 3. I think it's still worth to run curses if you want maximum corrupts and run it, but we will see. Then Enfeebling Blood is the skill 5 of the Dagger. It was nerfed, it no longer removes boons, so not only it doesn't corrupt boons anymore, but it doesn't remove boons either, so you just won't need it for your build. It's this skill right here. As you see, it just applies bleeding and weakness, no bone corruption, so I chose to replace it with the Warhorn, which has an unblockable AoE fear in front of you, nice range also, 600 range, and also we have Locust Swarm, which gives us swiftness and also allows us to life siphon heal us and our allies, and also is a very nice damage around you. It's very useful to remove blindness from yourselves while you cast your other spells. Then we have Lesser Enfeeble. We didn't use this trait, it was this trait right here, the Lesser Enfeeble. We don't need it, we don't care about the nerf. Okay, then we see the Scourge. We got this new trait, which is the one right here, Desert Empowerment. Whenever we manifest a Sand Shade, we grant barrier to the allies near the shade, and when we apply barrier, grant boons to the affected targets. So very nice trait. Right now it kinda compensates the nerfs that Scourge received, and maybe Also, this makes the Scourge even better. I don't know, I will need Arcdps, but still I will show you in a gameplay from this evening that the corruption spams is way more, since Alacrity is 25% skill recharge rate, and if you have perma Alacrity, it means that your skills will recharge at 80% of the original cooldown. So if a skill has 10 seconds cooldown and you have perma Alacrity, you will get 8 seconds on the skill, and it really shows on your skills, as you will see in the gameplay. Let's see the other traits. Okay, Sandstorm Shroud, we don't use it, but we might need it if we play some supporter Scourge or something more supportive than solo, like this Scourge right here we play now. Abrasive Grit, this trait no longer causes sand flare to grant barrier to allies. We don't need it, because now the barrier from sand flare is automatic. You don't need the trait. Sadistic Searing we already saw, we don't need it. Trail of Anguish, Ghastly Breach, it was a reduced cooldown. Another big nerf we had, it was Path of Corruption. This trait now increases the cooldown of Nefarious Favor by 50% in War vs World only. It's this trait right here, which makes our F2 to 18 seconds cooldown instead of 12. It's kinda bad, to be honest, but I think Scourge is still viable. I will also try a Reaper, of course, Corruption Reaper, but I think Alacrity Scourge is very nice, and I will show you why and explain why I think it's the best. Right here we have nothing left, so the patch notes are enough for now. So we run full Marauder gears, Scholar runes. We need 9 precise War vs World infusion to reach the critical cap right here, 80%, and with Fury we reach 100%, as you see. On the axe I run Accuracy, on the Warhorn Frenzy for additional cooldown reductions. On the wand on the scepter I run Accuracy, and on the focus I run Absorption. I chose not to run Absorption on both the sets because we have way less interrupts than before, since earlier we could remove the stability and turn it into a fear, and we could proc many interrupts, and the Sigil of Absorption was very strong. Right now the Axe 3 will not do this anymore. It will just remove the boons, it will not corrupt them, but the Scepter 3 will still corrupt the boons. So it will proc fears, and you will proc interrupts, and you will proc the Absorption Sigil. Also the Well of Corruption and the F2 will do this, and they will remove the condition. They will remove the boons from enemies and turn them into conditions, so you will proc the fears, and most of the time, since these are ranged skills, you will use them while using the scepter and focus. So I chose to run Absorption Sigil only in this weapon set, and the rest is all Marauder, as you can see. So now I will show you some gameplay from tonight, and I will comment them. So I have some clips right here, as you see. Okay, I will try to put the speed to a half. Okay, here is a ranged situation. We start the fight. I use the Scepter skill 3 and skill 2. Then I press the F1, F5 onto the enemies, and then I cast all the wells and the Ghastly Breach. You see how the Alacrity pulses on me. I have like 10 seconds of Alacrity right now. I swap to Axe and Warhorn. I recommend to use Axe 3 as soon as you swap to Axe, and then the skill 5, skill 4, every skill from your Axe, and all your F1s and your utilities. I would recommend to stay on Axe until you have the skill 3 ready again, and it will be very soon, since we have Alacrity most of the time, unless we get the chills like right here. I have huge chill on me. Okay, so before swapping I choose to reuse the skill 3, and then I swap back to the scepter, and I have the skill 3 from scepter ready again, even if it's a big cooldown. So basically what I recommend is staying in scepter when you are ranged and you use your skill 3, and after that you swap to axe and you use twice your skill 3, and then you swap back to scepter and your skill 3 from scepter will be ready again, and you use it, and you will swap to axe again when you can, and you repeat it. Also, don't forget to place your wells very properly, so you will get maximum stacks of alacrity, maximum durations, and just even corrupting one single guy will give you 1 second of alacrity. Don't forget that your skill 6 will remove boons from your enemies, and so you will get the alacrity also from your skill 6. You will also have to use your shroud F5 near your enemies, since you will remove a boon and an additional boon if the enemy is below 50% HP, and this will of course proc your alacrity, since you will remove the boons and you will also get some barrier. You will for sure get some alacrity. Try to also always maximize your alacrity, because it's really needed now on the Scourge to make it work. And the Scourge was nerfed, and so alacrity is a nice replacement. So try to always make it worth. So I have some other clips to show you. This is another example. I will put half speed again. Okay, right here. Okay, here the commander gets pulled, and all of the squad goes below to help him. So let's see the sequence of the skills. So I always recommend placing your shades, if possible, on your enemies, and if you are inside your enemy, try to target yourself also, because placing a shade with the new trait will give you a barrier, and the barrier will give you alacrity. But in this case, always prioritize your enemies, of course. I place a shade, another shade. The shades are very nice to fill in the cooldowns while you are not sure if the commander is overcommitting or not. So right here I just place the shades, which have kinda slow cast, to be honest. So I cast all of them, skill F5 and F4, because the enemies are coming up to me, and they also will tank the skill F5 from every shade and from myself, and also the spiteful spirit trait, this one right here, since I entered the shroud. And then F3, F2, basically everything from my F set. Then I immediately turn back, I go Ghastly Breach, and while I cast Ghastly Breach, I also use Trail of Anguish, which is an instant cast, and it's very nice to kite back from your enemies, since it will leave a trail on the ground, which will corrupt boons on the enemies. So I walk back, I cast the wells under my feet, because the enemies are coming to me. Skill 6 for some healing and for some extra corruption. You see how the alacrity is pulsing right here. Very nice alacrity. I swap to axe, skill 3, skill 5, skill 4 for an additional interrupt and fear or whatever, just removing a stack of stability. I have a shade again, I cast the shade. I have the F3, which is a barrier, so additional stability. Now I have no cooldowns left. I should wait for the skill 3 from axe. Skill F2 used, F4. At this point I just spam every cooldown because the enemy wiped, so it doesn't really matter. But still, skill 3 from axe to cleave down the enemies left, and then I should swap back to scepter, but the fight was over. Now I have another last example for you to show you. Okay, here I cast the shades again. Shades, I run to the enemies. I forgot to put the speed to a half. Okay, I cast every well and go Trail of Anguish and walk on the enemies, so they will hit my trail on the ground. Ghastly Breach. Skill 6 for barrier for me and for allies, so they also get a little bit of alacrity. I think I might say the stability instead of alacrity earlier. I meant Alacrity, of course. Okay, skill 3 from Axe, Well of Corruption. You see how the Alacrity pulls right here from the corruption. Then I place the shades, F2. I have the skill 3 from Axe almost ready. Use it immediately when you have it. And now I can swap back to Scepter. There you goes. It's a ranged option, the Scepter, so in this case it's better because the enemy is like 600 rage from me and Axe can't reach it, the Axe 3. So Spinal Shivers also is nice for additional bone removal, and it will also of course give you Alacrity because it's a bone removal. Then the skill 3 from the Scepter when the enemy gets close. Okay, right here. Well of Suffering is already up thanks to the Alacrity. Skill 2, skill F3, barrier, AoE barrier. I should swap back to Axe here. Okay, I did it. I am CC'd. Trail of Anguish for the break stun. Skill 3 from Axe, skill 5, and the enemy is done. So, thank you for watching. I think I covered almost everything from this build. The trait line is kinda straightforward. I think everyone knows the trait lines from the Scourge, except the new traits maybe, or how the new build works. And now, after this commentary, I will just leave some gameplay so you can see everything with no slows or 50% speed. Thank you for watching and see you on to next video. I have many ideas in mind and I will cover them all and will post them for you. Bye and have a good night.